Boris Johnson, has it ever been an embarrassment to you that you went to Eton, or has it always been a sort of source of pride, really?
I've always been very proud of all my schools, and they all gave me a fantastic amount of, advantage in life. And no, I don't think I've ever felt remotely disadvantaged. Let's be frank. It's a fantastic education.
Yeah, I mean the opposite of disadvantage. I mean it is
incredibly
privileged, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I want you to know, Steve, that I was state educated, however.
Really?
For a very long time, and also at Eton, where I was the beneficiary of a scholarship endowed by Henry VI.
Yes, indeed.
Wasn't I? If that isn't state education, I don't know what is.
But nonetheless, through whatever means, you got to Eton, which is...
I did, yeah. I mean, I'm very proud of my school, and I was very lucky to go there. I'm not convinced that there aren't millions of other people, tens of millions of other people, who aren't equally proud of their schools, and may be able to mount a very good in different ways, and may be able to mount a very good case for saying their school was much better than my school. I just happen to think, because that was the way we were all taught, to think it was a good school.
It was good. What's interesting, looking at what people said of you at your time at Eton.
What do you mean, what they said of?
Well, we've checked. We've done our research.
What do you mean you haven't? What is it all about?
Yeah,
what is this? This is
your
school life, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Similar sort of things are said of you to this very day, actually.
Right.
Which is both brilliantly bright, and I'll throw in a couple of quotes on that front to reassure you.
Good.
But also, he was a bit of a showman. They weren't quite sure. I mean, we've got a quote here. Look at this one from Earl Spencer.
Earl Spencer?
Who was commented spying on Boris, bumbling about on his first day, and reassured one boy at the school thicker than me. I mean, so there you have the two sort of... were you...
outrageous.
What's your reaction to the way you were perceived?
My theory is this, that I was very deaf as a child.
Yeah. And
in order to compensate for that, I couldn't hear. I couldn't hear, so I had to feign, a certain ignorance of everything.
Right.
In order not to be caught out, because I was going to be caught out. So it was very important to aim low.
Yeah. I'm really interested that you said that you feigned an ignorance of a lot of things. So is it...
No. Rather, it was my grandmother, who was also very deaf, used to pretend, not to notice when people asked her things she didn't want to be asked.
Yeah.
That was a...
But from school days to presenting Have I Got News for You, when you appear to be sort of bumbling around even with that format, that's you feigning it, really, is it? That's the act. It's the serious-minded figure really driving all of this.
No. What you've got to bear in mind is that behind the carefully cultivated veneer of blithering idiot, there is, of course, a blithering idiot quite a lot of the time, and this is very, very difficult. And it's you know how it is.
Yeah.
Actually, the way the mind works is like this: you have in your head, packaging your words, you've got and processing your thoughts. You've got a great factory of people who are putting things on the conveyor belt, right? And sometimes they have off days and they go on strike and they load the words any old how, and they come out all wrong and jumbled up.
Yeah.
And you've got to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
So sometimes you stand up in the House of Commons and you've been sitting thinking about it for 5 minutes. And you've got it absolutely worked out what you're going to say.
Sure.
And it just disappears.
You see, this is the other side of you. I mean, the serious-minded side has ended up in the House of Commons. You can, from debating at Eton to the House of Commons. That's why when anyone ever asks me about you, not they do very often, I say, he's a serious-minded guy. He is a journalist who went into politics, and that's a very serious move to make. And presumably that love of politics started at Eton, did it?
Yes, though I wasn't very right-wing. I mean, I was a pretty pathetic sort of I was apathetic.
Really?
I was sort of greenish. And I'm afraid to say I flirted pathetically with the SDP, who then there's the other party that disappeared as soon as I got interested in them. I can't remember what they were.
But did you join in debates?
Yeah. No, I was very keen.
Had a debating society.
I was very keen on all that. Yeah, I was.
And did that get the sort of love of politics going almost as a piece of theatre, partly? I imagine debates at Eton were a bit like the Oxford Union, were they, and things like this?
I think the interest in all that began many, many years ago when I was at a school in Brussels.
Right.
And I had a wonderful time in a nativity play. No, it wasn't a nativity play, it was a pageant about Noah's Ark. And I was cast in the role of God. And it was absolutely brilliant. And I remember saying, and I will cause the water to, crush, to inundate every creature that creepeth.
Right.
And all that sort of stuff. And
power at that point.
I was quite exactly. And I felt, I suppose, like some minister enacting some terrible bill to give schools trust status or something. That's probably what it was. Probably.
You mentioned the Brussels school. I mean, was that when you, of course, as a journalist and as a politician, interested in Europe, but did it start then, when you were in a school in Brussels?
Yes, it did. Yes, I became absolutely fascinated by the whole project to create out of a very diverse set of polities and countries one single state, one union. And the school I attended had a plaque with an inscription by Jean Monnet saying, "May they become in mind European, may they never go to war again, they will go forward from this place with feelings of deep rapture about the European project," and all the rest of it. And I could see the idealism of that, and I still do. I still think it is a high and a noble aim. But I was very interested in the way that at our school in Brussels, basically, the English and the Dutch played with each other, or possibly a few Danes, because the Danes could also speak English. The French and the Italians might play together, but basically it was the French and the Italians separately. The Germans tended to play on their own, I regret to say. And that was the way it was. Yeah. It was absolutely segregated according to language group. And this gave me a very profound early insight into the deep problem.
Fascinating. How old were you then?
I was 9, 8,
what an insight into European politics.
Yeah, and when I then came back to Brussels as a reporter many years later, I found it was exactly the same. Brits would have dinner parties with the Brits, the French would have dinner parties with the French, the Danes would have Danish dinner parties, and they'd all gripe about each other.
That playground scene was being replicated on a higher level. Yeah. You went on to another school where your classics teacher, Clive Williams, credits himself as being responsible for your love of classics.
I owe a great deal to Clive. I owe a great deal to Clive. He was a wonderful teacher and a very, very wonderful guy, and we're still in regular correspondence. He used to read Rex Warner's translation of Thucydides to us. And I had a student subscription to the Times. I was then about 12, wasn't I? And I was getting ferociously intellectually sort of competitive. And this was the height of the Cold War. Do you remember? This is absolutely terrifying period when we thought we were all going to get blown up. And I remember Clive reading about Athens and Sparta and just thinking what an incredible analogy it was between Russia and America. And what we had, and what I think needs to be brought back into education, was an absolute ruthless instruction in grammar. And every morning we would get up, and before breakfast we would sing the paradigms of Luo. And we would sing anti apo ek and pro with the genitive to go, enunciation must have the dative, etc., etc., etc. People don't do that anymore. Oh, why not?
Because
why can't we have grammar?
Well, the theory
why can't we have right and wrong answers again?
The theory
why
is
not? Because it's all bollocks. They're all no. We've got to get back, and all the teachers watching this who are going mad with indignation should know that we've got to get back to right and wrong answers, and grammar and spelling and punctuation.